Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about the GMI and its impact on labor supply. So here you see depicted an individual's budget constraint where they're initially consuming 70 hours of leisure per week and they're spending 40 hours in the labor market while they're receiving $10 per hour and receiving no non-labor income. So the implementation of a GMI is likely going to have a large effect on all of this. The impact of the GMI can directly be seen here at the endowment point. This point is on the far right axis, initially point E. And since the GMI comes in the form of non-labor income, this individual's budget constraint would, at the endowment point, shift upwards from $0 to $1,000, or from point E to point G as they're receiving that GMI. So this tells us their reservation wage is increasing, and it will take a greater wage to get this person to enter the labor force. Had their reservation wage been a little bit lower, we could have seen this person just totally exit the labor force altogether and just consume strictly leisure. So the wage rate here, or the negative slope of the budget constraint, drops for the worker from $10 an hour to $5 an hour after the implementation of the GMI. But this is because the policy usually causes, and this scenario does cause, higher levels of taxation upon workers to help subsidize that GMI to make sure it's economically feasible. Next, I'm going to talk about the substitution and income effects from the implementation of a GMI. The total effect is essentially, in essentially all cases, will be causing the individual to devote less hours to work, and as a result, they're going to consume more leisure. The income effect in this specific scenario is shown by that parallel shift upward of the budget constraint. Since the person is now effectively gaining more non-labor income, they're going to choose to work less because they can get the same amount of money for less work. The substitution effect, though, shown by that movement along the new indifference curve from point Q to point R, is going to show that this person sees that leisure has now become relatively cheaper as the wages are falling, and they're going to consume more leisure and work less because of that. In this scenario, as I said previously, the person's income and substitution effects are effectively working together, and they're showing they're both showing a decrease in labor hours, so they're going to work less in total. The system is really only better off for low-income workers since they're going to reduce hours worked, but they can still receive enough income to survive off of that. The labor force participation, as I noted, with the GMI is going to decrease as a whole because people who qualify for it are most likely going to reduce those hours worked or drop out of the labor force altogether and consume only leisure. For higher income workers who really don't end up receiving the GMI after they work enough, this policy really doesn't apply to them, and they're still going to work. The GMI is essentially taxing workers who continue to work after qualifying for it because the wage rate is lower than before after that tax is implemented.